Alright, what's going on, guys? It's Lucas here of Lonesome Studios, and today I'm going to show you how to clean up a project in Logic Pro X. Let's get straight into it. Okay, so here we've got our project. Let's play a quick test of it. Not too bad. Stuff's working. But if we just look at this, it's so messy, it's hard to use. I feel like when you're working, I guess, when you're creating something, I think it's great to be like this. Just create tracks, be as messy as possible. But you get to a point at the end of a session and it's like, you have we've got 30 tracks now. Nothing is in order, it doesn't look neat. You have to do cleanup every time. I think this is essential for any piece of music you make, anything you want to take further than just an idea. To clean it up is the most important thing. So to start with that, I guess, first things first, we've got a lot of tracks that, like these ones down here especially, if we've got these ones here, none of them are being used for the whole groove so far. And I don't think, if we check them, any of them have anything of use to us, really. I guess there's like a crowd noise, which I've decided not to use and I don't really like. A version of a sample that I don't really like. So maybe I want to use, the crowd, I don't know, maybe I want to use it in the future, but not right now. So the best thing to do here is to press H on the keyboard, and this H comes up on the side of all of your tracks. And you just want to go like that, highlight those and press H again, and they disappear. That's such an important thing to be doing, because you don't lose samples. If I ever wanted to go back and say use this sample, there's probably something good in this somewhere, some sort of cool chop or something, or a vocal take or something in there. But for right now, I know I'm not using it because I've got my sample, I've got my groove. So we just hide those. I think I could probably do the same for the side chain as well, because right now I know it's on 4 to the floor, I don't need to change that. So we can just hide that. And now it looks as if I've got a project with everything on that I'm using, which is the first step in cleaning up your project. So next thing, we've got all of these tracks. So we've got, say here, there's 4 guitar tracks here. Full sounding guitar, nice. Still kind of needs a little bit of cleaning up, but how can we make this neater? And this is the next step, I guess. So we've got all these guitar takes here. Nice, we've got some intro guitar, main groove guitar. Sounds nice. But how can we take this from 4 tracks to 1 track, I guess? And that's buses. This is the next step of cleaning up. Cleaning up a project is buses. So what I just did there, I'll do that again. So if I right click and click create track stack, this window comes up. You want to click sum in stack, and all this, I guess, differs from is a sum in stack means that you can add audio effects to the bus, and a folder stack is just a folder. So I'll show you both. So a folder stack is just this. There's no audio effects over here. It just means you hide down your 4 guitar things. For the uses of this project, I want a summon track, and I tend to use summon stacks more because you can add audio effects. It becomes a bus, and you again, for cleaning up buses is great again, because then I can take this guitar, I'll call this guitar, and now, so we have this now, and I want to now go in and do stuff and effects, maybe add some glue compression and really blend all of the guitar parts together rather than adding it to each individual one. It just makes everything blend together a little bit better, and it makes it way easier to deal with. So if now I go in, we can add some glue compression to this if we want, just a little subtle amount. So if I hear that, a little bit of just compression just to glue everything together, I guess. Then if we now go and make buses for everything, so we've got our mutes, create a track stack, summon stack, create, call that mutes. This is what these sound like. But if we group them together, it means we can affect them as a whole. And like on something like this, I would like, maybe we have that side chain, so a little bit of side chain compression would be pretty cool. Is it this one? Yeah, there we go. So it's kind of pumping a little bit, and it means that all of these pump similarly as a whole, rather than sidechain compression on each individual track, which again is, I think, just messy, and it takes up CPU. Buses just they save CPU, they keep it clean, they keep it nice and neat and tidy. And maybe you don't want to be doing this in the creative process, because it takes away from the initial just getting ideas down and blurting stuff out. But when you're getting into the mixing phase of something, or trying to take a track to the next stage, this is essential. So I'll go in and do this to every track now. So if we go like that, create a summon stack, call this one bass. And then we've got a drum bus here with some of the drums on and the topper. I can group the toppers as a whole and call that a topper. In the topper bus, I put this one in out. You can drag and drop and slide things into the bus. That's also very important. And if we go like this, so we have a topper, we have our drums. I'll group the ambiences, call them ambience. So we've got our ambiences. I'll get rid of these tracks for now. I can just hide those, so we can just hide those there, gets rid of those. So now we've got our ambience, we've got our drums, which at the minute is just a snare. We've got a topper, which is high passed on this one, can be the whole groove. We've got our bass, our mutes, our guitar, and our two samples, which for the moment I'm leaving separate because I want to mix them separately. So that just keeps that nice and tidy. Look, compared to what it was before with all of these tracks and everything out, you've now got a very small project to work with. If I bring that down, it's much easier to arrange now, and I think once you start bringing stuff down, it's way easier to go this way, because you're not so wide this way. And just this is like almost like an extension of your brain. So keeping your mind tidy and keeping your project tidy is one and the same, I guess. So our next step is now to start, I guess, colouring things, making it visual and easy to look at, so that when you just jump onto the project, you can see where everything is. And the first thing, like I've just done there, is changing these symbols on the side here so that they represent what the things are. So if we right click on the picture, you can just add in pictures, which is simple, a very simple thing, but just really not just elevate, but I guess it makes a project look nice, and it makes it look like if somebody's coming in to record, say, the vocalist, because this is from a sample, and I want to get the vocalist in to record the actual take. So when I do that, I want the project to look nice. I want it to look like I know what I'm doing. So that makes them feel more comfortable. You're going to get a better take from the vocalist, and all round, I think it will just make your life easier if you have keeping things clean. It makes it look like you know what you're doing. It makes it look like you know how to control this software, and it makes it also easier for people when they're coming in to see what's going on. Like if a vocalist comes in and they want to hear the guitar, they themselves could even come in, and if we have one of these guitar things on here, they can see that that's guitar. They know, even if they don't use Logic, they know just from the side there. They can see, they read guitar, they see a guitar, they press that, and they press play. They could do it on their own. They can hear that. It's that visual that they can see everything, and it makes them being creative in a session way easier, because then even if you're working with somebody that doesn't know what's going on, it doesn't then leave it down to you knowing what each track is just because you've made it. You know it groups everything together so that anybody could jump in and be like, oh, I can use it. I know how to use this project now. It's easy because we've got guitar, we've got the mutes, we've got the bass, we've got the top, we've got the drums, and everything is all where it's supposed to be. I'll just finish adding off these and we'll get on to some of the next steps. Okay, so one of them, like in the same as adding those different icons, we can also go in and assign a track color, or if we click on here like this, we should be able to turn the color So now that we've got that, we can go in and assign the track colour. So if I want to go like this, we have this, I've right clicked and I've hit assign track colour. So we're on ambience, and I want that one to probably be, that can be maybe just like a light blue. So you see it changes there, and then when I open it up, it becomes this colour. And I guess that just makes things way easier to work with, and just more visual. I guess it helps. It just helps everybody really when you're working and doing stuff, because then again it's the more visual when you're working with singers, when you're working with instrumentalists that are maybe no production, slightly lesser. It makes it way easier for them to know what's going on at all times. They can see where the tracks are, they can see bass is here, they can see drums is here, the drums are yellow, the top are yellow, drums red, ambience there. And I guess it just helps everybody to know where we are at all times, rather than leaving that down to chance. Okay, so I've colour coded the track, so we've got kit in red, topper in yellow, bass green, mutes darker green, and guitar in pink. And that just makes it easier to look at and easier to work from. So the next step and the next phase of cleaning up your project is we open up the mixer by pressing X, and we have a look down here and we start doing some EQ, whether that's to some of the buses that we've made or to individual tracks. I like to start sometimes just even while working on the buses. So say we go through the bass, we can go in and whether we want this to be a little more subby bass or a more toppy bass. I know for this track specifically, I want some sub, and I want to take out around here because the kick's going to be a bit more on top and the bass is going to sit under that and really be the sub and the low end. So if we boost it around 80 and dip maybe 200, that's creating room for our kick and really boosting our bass in this low end. You could probably go even more then. I'm going to take a little bit of the top end out, just a high cut slightly. Just because I know that I don't want it to be taking up frequencies where other things are sitting in, and I know that the bass is not going to be sitting too much in that top end anyway. So if we can do some more EQ to other tracks like this, so for the drums, and drums more specifically, you might want to go in, like for the kick, I know that I'm going to want to do EQ on here and do the opposite to what I've just done to the bass, to the drums. So cut at 80 and boost at 200. We're basically doing those opposite things to the kick drum and the bass, so that they now occupy a different kind of time. We can do the same thing to the topper because I know the kick also sits in there as well. So if I go like this, bring this down, dip at about 80 and boost just at 200 there, slight boost. If we now hear this, I'm going to take the EQ off here because that was more for arrangement purposes. If we hear this against that, it's now starting to sit a little bit more clean against each other because of the EQ that we've just done. Everything's starting to sit around rather than before it was just very muddy and messy. So now we can go in, same with the mutes, we could add some EQ, really just cut some of that low end out if I just hear that on its own, and do some surgical EQ I guess for the whole track. And really with the EQ, we're just carving out space for each track in the mix. That's our main aim, and boosting in places where other things are taken and dipping in places where other things are taken up, so that we have more space basically to work with. So if I do the same for the guitar, I know I'm going to want to take out a lot of the low end on the guitar. If we hear it against the bass, I can bring that bass probably down a little bit. Bring that. So boost at the top, get a nice bright guitar sound, maybe dip here, because I'm thinking about adding other chords and instruments and I want them to sit in this space that I'm cutting here. That's why I will dip here. And that's how you want to be thinking, really, is is there another instrument that I want or that is there, dip, and then boost respectively for the other instrument, or cut respectively for the other instrument. So that now with the mutes. Now we get a balance with our buses. And this is way easier to work with now. If you think about the buses, now we're just working with really like 5 tracks. If we have a listen here, like we've got these 5 tracks. This is basically our whole track. And we can mix based on that rather than individual tracks. And of course you want to go in individually and balance things out as well between the track itself. But like the bass here, I'd rather be working like this than having to do separate stuff for both of those, because then it becomes more of one sound. And that kind of segues on to the next part of the video, which is compression. So compression is so key to be able to really get things to cut and pop in your mix and clean, and I guess clean up your mix and make things pop more where they need to pop. So we'll go on the guitar to start. We've got this nice groove, but I think just a little bit of compression, maybe even a bit more between on that. It's gluing them together while it's on the bus. But we can also go in here and I think it's important to then find a balance between these 2 parts. So we've got our EQ done and the compression in here, very subtle. We just hear the pluck on its own. And we hear, here's kind of where we decide, what do we want to hear more, what do we want to hear less? And I think I want to hear more of the pluck, so I'm going to turn this up more than it was at. Go with this one, maybe go with a different. I like this one. Go with that for that, and then we go to the strums. And this has now got slightly less compression on, so that guitar pluck is really sitting above the strums now, and it's making it, it's just getting that balance, getting that blend between the two. So now we have this on its own now against a bass that for sure needs some compression. Maybe a little bit less. I bring this slightly down again. Beautiful. So we've got some compression on our bass, and I've added compression to basically everything now. So the blend's a little bit better. But one thing I did notice whilst doing that is within this guitar part here, the pluck, the guitar pluck, if we get through to the 3rd chord, the tap on the 3rd chord is clipping every time. Every time. So a simple fix and a great thing I think with Logic is that you can just go in, find where that tap is in the file, which I think is here, right? Yep. And we can go in, Command T on each side. So now we have this audio file here of just a click, right? If I just solo that on its own, that's just a click. Perfect. Now if we open this region tab, we have gain right here. We can really just bring the gain all the way down. I think it's clipping by 4.6, right? So if we just bring that down by 4.6, even like -5, say, and pull this out a little bit, just so it's right by the click. Do a little crossfade. Between the two. Maybe this can come back a little bit, right? And we can crossfade between them here. So we've got a crossfade there. I'll do one here as well. And let's check if we're still clipping. So if we go back to that now, hear this. Still clipping, so we want to bring that down even more. So like minus 6.5, say. Minus, we'll go again. Bring it right down. And we have the same thing for the last one. So if we go in here and we do the same thing, it basically means that we can get rid of any clipping. And this is called gain staging. And you want to do this if you have a vocal take. This is so key to be able to get a great vocal take, is gain staging, so that you can use compression for this, but I think gain staging and then added compression, you just get a way better sound, because you already have, if you have a track that's not well balanced, then you gain stage it, it becomes more balanced, then adding compression after that rather than using the compression to gain stage, I think makes less sense, because you're then pushing the compressors, you're going to get a little bit more of a compressed sound. But if you're going for more, I guess this is a lo-fi beat, so if you're going for more of that kind of sound, that not so compressed sound, you want to have everything staged and the dynamics already there before we go into compression. So now that hits exactly how it should hit. No clipping, and check your track for all of this, especially when you're working. You don't want to be clipping, because it's maybe when you're being creative and blotting the idea down, for sure, but as soon as you start getting into mixing, make sure everything is below 0, because you're able to hear everything way better and it makes everything way easier to work with. So if we now hear that in context with some compression and EQ, we could maybe add slightly more compression to our vocal, because it's quite a quiet sample. Perfect. And our final step now to getting this project cleaned up is some reverb. So I've gone with a Valhalla vintage 30 plate, tweaked a couple of the samples, really low cut it so we're getting rid of the lows. Also done the same with an EQ on here, because this is all of this area here, especially in reverb. So if we hear our reverb on its own, all of this area here is nonsense, is mud. In EQ, we want to probably cut to there, maybe add a little high shelf, like that. And it will just help to clean up mud from the whole thing. So we have that now on our drums. We go to our topper, and I think our aim here, add this one to everything. This is our, like, I guess what you would call our room. This is where we're trying to place the whole mix. So if I cut that, so we got our topper in there as well. Bring the bass in, really add some reverb to that. You could, especially because there's not much low end in there, we can go quite heavy on this. Get it to blend nicely. With the mutes, again, add a bit more. And with reverb, I like to go up and then bring back down, so you know when you've got too much. And then just as you start to not hear it, that's when you want to. That's where you want your reverb to be, because you don't want to feel and hear your reverb too much. It just wants to be felt, and it wants to create this space rather than, oh, that's reverb. You don't want that. So I'll just hit the guitar on its own, because it's quite important. It's quite a lot. A little bit less. Yeah, that's it. That puts it in the space. We've got some on our vocal already. A little bit less. Okay. And we can maybe a little bit to the ambience as well. Okay, so now with reverb on everything, let's hear the whole thing after the cleanup in the context. Okay, well, thank you guys for watching. I hope this has been helpful. I've been Lucas with Lonesome Dog Studios. See you in the next one. Peace.